one thing I want to note is, of course, your voice, man. Like, you are one of the most powerful vocalists in death metal, and really in history, in metal history. I think I put you up there with,
Thanks, man.
like
I
Dio,
appreciate
and
it.
to me, you're like Dio and Ozzy, but on a completely other side of the spectrum. You know what I mean? And I remember us talking, years ago about like how even in the early '90s you owned it, and you wanted to be the best death metal vocalist in the world, and wanted to be in Cannibal Corpse. I want to know, where did that determination come from? Is that part of your upbringing, or did something happen to you to push you that way?
I just love music. I mean, really, when I first started like screaming and yelling in my room, I remember just playing, Black Sabbath, Iron Maiden, Accept, and Judas Priest, of course, and Dio, and of course in your early '80s, then you're starting to get to Slayer, Merciful Fate, and Venom, and all that stuff. And I just, it's kind of like when you're in the shower, if you just have a song in your head, you start singing. I would put on a record. I'd be sitting in my room, like and I would just be singing the lyrics. Or if it was a new record and I just got it and I had a lyric sheet, I'd be reading along with it, and I just would be singing it. And then I just started trying to sing it like those guys, to emulate the guys who I was listening to. And I really wasn't doing it because I thought, okay, I'm going to be a band. Like I think I maybe wanted to be in a band somewhere in the back of my mind, but I wasn't like trying to teach myself how to sing because that's where I was going. I didn't know anybody else. I had a friend of mine that was in my first band, Corpse Grinder. I grew up with. He bought a guitar, and I remember we used to record some songs, and I would be playing on I had some drumsticks out where I got them, and I would be playing on these pillows at his house, and he had a little fuzz box or something. And he's playing his guitar terribly. Haven't learned the riffs of the songs, whatever, because they were just covers, and I'm trying to sing them. But that was probably the earliest incarnation of me, or thoughts of me wanting to be in a band like that. I could do this. I just was singing in my room. I just loved doing it. I put them on records. I had a piece of wood. My friends called it the Rickenborder instead of the Rickenbacker because it was a board. It was like a board under your bed. There's just a 2x4 basically, and I would just hold it and I think it was a guitar because most of the guys I grew up listening to played guitar and sang, or bass and sang. Those are the guys that I, usually gravitated towards and like the vocals. So I just tried to, do what they were doing. I used to line up the records in front of me on the ground. Any record that had like the band photo on it, I put that. If the sleeve had it, pull the sleeve out, put the band there. So that's my audience. Tom Araya is looking at me, and if I fuck up, Raining Blood, he knows it, and he's like, "Fuck you," and I'd be mad. And I'd have to start it over again. Seriously, I mean, I was so demented. It's almost like I was like, they can see me. They can see me. They know, and I just was singing. And eventually, like I said, we started going to more and more shows. And, I met some people and they were always like, dude, you're always headbanging and singing all the lyrics at every show. And, you should be in a band, and then it started dawning on me, maybe, and then I wanted to be in one. And the people that were telling me this stuff weren't playing in any bands. They were just dudes that were at the shows, they were just people to show. And then I met some people, one of which, the drummer of my first band, Mark Gantz, Corpse Grinder, he lived on the same street as my girlfriend, who's now my wife. Went over there and started jamming, but that's when that's my first band. But a few years before that kind of all happened was when I started thinking, man, I want to be in a band. I want to do this. And I can't say anybody motivated me outside of the people I was listening to. Like if people say, did you take lessons? No. My teachers were Chuck Schuldiner, Chuck Billy, Millie Petroza, you know what I mean? Rob Urbanati, just, even Ozzy, obviously, and even though I don't sing, but Ozzy and Dio and King Diamond and all those bands are the people that inspired me to want to do it. And I just wanted to do it. And I just got it in my mind. Nothing was going to stop me. Seriously, I wanted to quit school. And my mother's like, no, you're going to go to school. And I was like, well, I'm just not going to do nothing. So I said, I would sit in school. My brother could draw really good. And I had one of those denim, the notebooks, the denim ones. My brother drew the Creator logo on it for me and Celtic Frost and a couple other things. And I would just go there and sit down. I'll never forget in the science class where I went to high school. Sit down and I would just write the lyrics to Pleasure to Kill or Raining Blood. And the teacher would come up and he was also a minister, I think. And he'd be like, he was from Jamaica. And he's like, George, man, why aren't you doing your work? You know, it's like, you're not disturbing anybody, so I'm not going to kick you out. You know, you can be doing your work. And I'm like, I'm going to be in a band. You know, these lyrics, these are all the bands I like, and I'm going to be in a band. I'm going to tour the world and do everything. Yeah. And this is like ninth grade. And I think when I was in ninth grade, I probably should have I'd been held back because I just didn't care. I wasn't doing my schoolwork. They pushed me through some class, some years because I was just hell bent on nothing mattered. Band. I would never suggest that to anyone listening to this. Go to school. Seriously, get your education because my story, if you will, is like a once, and a 1 in a million shot. Maybe I would have sucked. Maybe I sucked and I didn't know it. Maybe I would have went to Mark Gonz's house and they'd have been like, "Get the hell out of here! Fuck out of my house! You're horrible." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It didn't work out that way. It luckily worked out for me, but I still could have done all that and stayed in school. I could have. I could have at least just got a high school diploma and you know what I mean, just said I graduated high school, and then I just said, fuck this, I'm going to be a band. But I said that before I even got out of high school. The motivation was just that I love music so much. And, I will say my parents never were against what I did. My mother was religious, but not like, she wasn't ever going to church. She's like, I believe what I believe, and that's all. Not that devout where she's going to, she believes what she believes, and I don't need to go to church to believe what I believe. Fair enough. So she never pushed me with that. She never cared. One time I got in trouble. I wrote the lyrics to Hell Awaits. I put them on the fridge. And I got in some fucking trouble for that. She's like, what are these? I'm like, that's fucking Slayer. I mean, that's Slayer, Mom. And she's like, what did you say? I was like, it's Slayer, Mom. I didn't say anything. And she's like, well, don't put this on my fridge again. What are you doing when you're out with your friends? What is this crucifier so-called Lord Jesus fall to me? I was like, it's Slayer. It's just Slayer. She's like, you sure you're not getting? I'm like, Mother, we're not on drugs. We're not, she's like, what are you doing when you're out with friends? I was like, we're driving around and listening to metal. That's all. It's just, she's like, don't put that on the, she's like, I don't care what you're listening to. You're not getting in any trouble. You're not out causing problems. But don't put those kind of lyrics on my refrigerator again. And that was it. Other than that episode, I never got, what is this album called? Don't break the oath. What is that? That's Satan. What is that? None of that. She never gave me a hard time for anything I wanted to do because, even though I wasn't fucking up in school, I just wasn't doing the work and I wasn't being a disturbance when I was in the classes. And my father was working, and in the summers I'd work with him. He did construction and stuff. But I was like, just let me quit. I'll just work with Dad. And I'll just keep trying to do this with the band. And she was like, nope, when school starts, you're going. I couldn't leave school. My mother wouldn't let me, but she never was against it. And she always believed in me. And I'll tell you right now, when I did a Corpse Grinder, we did a demo. But when I went down to Florida and we started Monstrosity, and I'll never forget when we got the first offer. It was just an offer for a recording deal. I think it was when we did the Burden of Evil 7-inch with Relapse. And I just was like, I came down because I was up in the attic, stayed up in the attic, and my parents and a bunch of family were there. And I just ran down like, we're getting signed. We're going to do this. Yeah. It was I'm telling you now, you can't fucking see it. Oh, baby. But there's goosebumps on my arm. It was the biggest thing in the world. It might even be, might not have been Relapse. I don't know who it was, but we just got some letters of people wanting to sign us. And it was just like, we're going to do a record. Like nowadays, do your own fucking record. Nobody cares.
Right.
Big deal. You know what I mean? Like, back then, doing a record, to me, I'm not saying it doesn't mean anything getting signed, because obviously being on a label that can help you get your name out there is awesome. But back then, I think for me, it was the greatest thing I ever had. I mean, to that point, it was like when I got in Cannibal, that was like the greatest thing. You know what I mean? Like my kids being born, obviously it's up there. The Denver Broncos winning Super Bowl 32. That was up there. John Elway. But, there's a lot of things that was like, I'll never forget, obviously, when we decided to do Corpse Grinder. a friend of ours, we were at this one party. We left there in Towson, Maryland. We went to my friends was dating this girl, and we went to her place and they were having a party. And me and my friend Jack were like, we're going to be in a band. We met these guys. We're doing a band. We're going to be at their house this, next Sunday. We're going to jam. It was like, oh my God. I'm telling you, goosebumps are insane. That was the beginning of Corpse Grinder. It was the beginning of my life in music. But I just remember that when we left that party, I was like, me and him, it's almost like if you walked, if we went and saw Slayer and we caught Kerry, we one time at this place called Hammerjacks in Baltimore, we caught Scott Ian going to the bus. We saw Anthrax with Metal Church and we stopped. And I know this now more than I had no clue that. And I don't mean this to come off bad, but sometimes when you're trying to get the bus and you got food or something and the kids catch you and you're just like, fuck, because you just want to go do what you were going to do. He did not, I'm not going to say he looked like that because he was very nice. And he talked to us probably for 15, 20 minutes because we wouldn't shut up. But we walked away like, punches in the arm, and holy shit. That's how we were when we left the party. And we knew we were going to the other party. And we were like, fucking A, man. We were freaking out, man. We were like losing it. Like, that's how excited we were. We were going to do a band. I mean, dude, I'm telling you right now. That's the shit I will never forget. That's the stuff that it keeps me going. I always have to remind myself, because trust me, I've been sitting on the bus sometimes like, you know what, I just want to go home. I'm done with this. I don't fucking feel like playing. Then you get on stage and the crowd is like fucking insane. And I mean, there's been a couple of times I'm almost teared up on stage where I'm just like, this is where I belong. This is where I'm supposed to be. When they get older, mortality starts to set in. You start thinking about the time you spent away. Iron Maiden, man, wasted years. Don't waste your time always searching for those wasted years. Face up. You did what you wanted to do. You didn't waste your time. I've been out tour. But that kid right then, when I was going to be in that band, that kid, when I'm sitting on the bus, if you fast forward, if that kid could sit on the bus next to me, he'd probably punch me right in my face. Like, fuck you, dude. This is what I want, you asshole.
Yeah.
And you're just sitting here whining and complaining that you don't want to be here. Yeah. It's like, so it's easy to forget where you came from. Conversations like this bring me back. And I've lost my way, but a few times, more than a few times, I guarantee you, things like this, thinking about it and not being able to tour, make me think back to how much, I definitely am ready to go.
Yeah.
Because
I'm so stoked to talk to you about this. And that's a fucking fantastic story. And your determination really shows, man. And to hear, you said, what, ninth grade, you told the teacher that I'm going to be a touring, musician.
Yes. But I'll say one more thing. I want to say something. I can't remember his name, but he was a minister something. And, he, at his church or whatever. And of course I got Slayer lyrics in there and he was reading them and he wasn't judgmental. That's one thing. I always remember him because I guess I didn't remember him that much. I can't remember his damn name, but I just remember that when he was like, but you could still, be participating in the class and learn and go home, do your homework and still listen to your music. And I was just like, I ain't got time for that. All my time is listening to Slayer, listening to Celtic Frost and Voivod. I don't care about, fractions or whatever. Obviously, fractions are way before, but just goes to show you I didn't go to school that much. But, whatever I was learning in school, or whatever they were teaching, rather, I didn't care. And he's like, you're really determined. And I was like, yeah. And he goes, I believe in you. I believe that you can do this. You were looking in my eyes, and he's like, he's like, and he didn't try to, he just tried to convince me to do my schoolwork. He wasn't trying to convince me to give this dream up. But he's like, no matter what I say, you are just crystal clear, one path this way, one path, band. And he's like, I believe you. I fully believe. And I always thought, man, I always used to say I was going to go back, and he's probably not there anymore, but I always used to say, I'm going to go back and I'm going to find him and just say, look, this is what I've done. Here's all my stuff. I've done a lot of stuff. I did what I said I was going to do, but I just would like to just say, and I always remember you because you told me, you said to me, I believe you can do it. I believe in you. And you shouldn't let anybody crush your dreams, but you shouldn't do your work, but you shouldn't let anybody crush your dreams. And my parents pretty much my mother's the same way. She just was behind me 100%.
I want to say that was a beautiful sentiment, a beautiful story, and I absolutely think you were born to do this. You know, I really do. I
Think
think that
so.